So this is how quickly things are changing over here. So I can understand that, you know, I wasn't the only one getting frustrated. If you haven't already, please check out the first part of this story so you get up to speed with what I'm talking about, and then you can come back and finish it up here. Our apps were checked and emails were checked and everything was fine. We moved on, and they wanted to check my accommodation because the deal was after your government mandated quarantine period, then you could go into your own arranged accommodation, because for the next 10 days after that, you're still not allowed to go into public transport, you're not allowed to interact with people, you're still basically isolating after the first 10 days of quarantine. That was the deal at that point. That got done, and then finally we were told, okay, go have a seat. Oh wait, hold on. We actually took a COVID test, yes. So this happened after we handed in our documents the first time, then we went for the COVID test. It's just a saliva PCR, so you spit into a test tube and then you hand it to the staff, and then they do all of the testing. So by the time we were going through like the app checking, the email checking and documentation, at that point we had already done the test, but we were waiting for our test results. So then they told us that, okay, we're done. Please go have a seat on seat number X57. That was my seat. I still remember it because I spent a lot of hours on that seat. So yeah, I sat on X57 and they said, this is where you're gonna wait for your test results as well as your government accommodation allocation, because at this point I still didn't know which hotel I'll be staying at. Not that it mattered, you know, all I needed to know was that I was negative upon arrival. And so then I moved on to my seat. Guys, I got tired, I got hungry, I got thirsty. The hunger went away, the thirst went away. I was just like, okay, I guess we're just gonna chill here. Lucky for me though, I guess I was really lucky and blessed that this happened.
Hey God, I don't know what I did to deserve this, Jesus.
A very nice man from Nigeria who was on the same flight as I was, coming from Ethiopia. He sat next to me. I was just seated and my passport and everything was on the chair next to me, right side up. And so when he sits down, he was like, he just said, oh, Kingdom of Lesotho. And he mispronounced Lesotho, by the way. I won't mention his name because you guys will come for him. He mispronounced Lesotho, and so I didn't want to talk to him, but I wanted to correct his, you know, pronunciation. I'm not gonna tell you what he said, but anyway, I corrected his pronunciation, and then literally from that point on, we just started talking. You know, when people are together and suffering together, I guess that really brings a certain kind of bond, because you're going through something that's so unique and that other people might have never experienced before, and that you really have no reference for, right? We sat there, we talked about Lesotho, he told me about Nigeria, and he was so surprised that I knew a lot about Nigeria, but that's just because I have a ton of friends from Nigeria, from, you know, who I met in school and in other walks of life. So we discussed, you know, what are you doing in Japan? Oh, he told me about his entire life. He grew up here basically, at least his entire adult life. And so we started talking about Japanese culture and blending as an African man into the Japanese society and things like this. It was amazing, guys. It was refreshing. This was the best part about being stuck in an airport for many hours on end. So I kid you not, okay? I kid you not, our flight had landed at 4:30 p.m. and we only left the airport. We only left the airport at 11:30, guys. Okay, like I'm not kidding you.
That's best.
It was 7 hours in the airport, not on the dot. It was like 7 hours and something minutes. That's when we left the airport. But the whole time, for about maybe the last 3 hours or 4 hours of being there, when I was sitting with this man, it was just bliss, because I just felt like I actually just didn't even feel like I was in Japan. I just felt like I brought Africa into Japan with me. It felt like home. That's what I'm saying. It really did feel like home. So God bless that man. He made the wait there less traumatic. You know, it was a nicer way to spend many hours in an airport, because there's only so many podcasts and YouTube videos. There was also a second person that I had also met in an interesting way, because actually she is a Japanese lady. She's a Japanese lady who had been working in Lesotho on a project for many months, and I had seen her at the airport in Maseru, but you know, she was a bit far away and I wasn't really sure how to approach her. You know, we're taking basically the same route, and then once we arrived in Japan, I was like, oh wait, she's Japanese. She's Japanese. And you know, for those of you who follow me on social media, I had posted about her and I had said that, you know, she's my new friend. She has a Sesotho name. She was wearing the mokorotlo. She had the national blanket and everything, like total Soto regalia. And that was amazing to see, because it's like this tiny Japanese woman wearing the mokorotlo. It's like, man, that's amazing. So once we arrived in Japan, I introduced myself to her and I was like, I've been seeing you the whole entire route. What's your name? You know, what's going on? And we talked for a little bit. She told me about herself and everything. And so these two people, honestly, I just want to thank them, and I feel so blessed that they were there in the journey with me, because they were so nice, kind, and just helpful. So yeah, 7 hours later, we leave the airport, and we're told that we're going to be staying at the Upper Hotel next to the Tokyo Ikimai in Narita, right? So we get into our bus, and then we're told that the hotel is a bit far. It's going to be an hour. So it's already 11:30 p.m., right? So the bus ride was about an hour to the hotel. So basically I arrived in Japan on Sunday, and I arrived at my hotel on Monday, guys. I arrived at my hotel on Monday. And again, I was so naive. I was so naive, because I thought that, you know, once we get into the hotel, we're just gonna be, you know, given our rooms and we're just gonna sleep. But this was not the case. This was not the case, because we got in there. First of all, it was cold. It's winter in Tokyo. They left the doors open for a little bit, and there were chairs in the reception area. Once again, the chairs that look like we're in a classroom setting or a bus or something. And they're calling people one by one, registering us, taking in our PCR information and where we're from and how long we have to stay. Now here is the gist. We were in that lobby for around 2 hours. And part of the reason was because there were a lot of logistical details that were not hashed out before we arrived. One of the major ones being that apparently the hotel, before we arrived, the hotel was only supposed to take people who are quarantining for 6 days and 3 days. So not me, not people from Lesotho, because people from Lesotho had to quarantine for 10 days. So when I brought my stuff to the reception staff, and they looked at it and they said, this is interesting. And they did the same for my friend, my Japanese friend, who had traveled with me to from Lesotho. And then we were puzzled. So we were brought here, but what do you mean we can't stay here? Oh yeah, you can't stay here because, you know, it's going to be only for people who are staying 3 to 6 days. But you know, luckily for me, my friend who speaks Japanese was able to talk to them and explain to them whatever she explained. Honestly, I don't even know. I was just happy that she's here and that I'm not in this shindig alone. So in the end, they told us to wait a little bit while they figure something out for us. So we had to wait, and everybody else was processed before us, and then we were called later on to then get our room allocations after they had made a bunch of calls and everything. So guys, it was legitimately such a long journey. Imagine this: it already takes about a day and a half coming from Lesotho to Japan. By the time I arrived in my hotel, it was already, in my hotel room, it was already 2 a.m. of the Monday. So that would be like 7 p.m. of the Saturday. Guys, it was just it was a very long journey. And once I got into my room, honestly, I was just so tired. I took a shower and I slept. I didn't want food. I didn't want anything else. But you know what? It's like with everything that is frustrating or that's annoying, there's always those silver linings that honestly make it super worth it. So for me, one of them is the fact that I met 2 amazing people who are now my friends. And the second one is that I got to now experience quarantine life. I mean, it's not a, how do I put it? It's an experience in and of itself that has allowed me to even tap into my creative juices and finally starting up this YouTube channel, because if it wasn't for all those things that had happened and being bored in this room and all of that, I still wouldn't have a YouTube channel. So I'm really happy about that. And also the last thing is that having been home and experiencing the kind of holiday that I wanted to have, I just feel like all of that makes anything that I go through kind of worth it. And so I'm not angry. I am actually quite happy. And you know, it was frustrating while it lasted. It was frustrating not to have food and drink and all that, but we made do with vending machine stuff. So honestly, I think it's okay. Plus, we're living here for free. It's basically the Japanese government's money that's keeping me fed and accommodated in this room, which is quite nice and cozy. Despite the fact that it's small, it's very nice. It's a very nice place. So I feel like at this point, I'm just happy. I'm okay. Plus, my quarantine has been shortened, so Tuesday. I really just wanted to share with you like the journey into Japan, guys, because it was not easy, but here we are. We're alive, we're thriving, we're well, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed watching this video. If you like the content, please do consider subscribing and liking my channel. Also share it with your loved ones. If you know anybody that is out of Japan and will be traveling to Japan soon, let them see this video so they know what they could probably expect from their re-entry process. If you think I left out something, let me know and I can talk about it in the next video. Until then, toodles, and keep living life with a capital T.